91%. Let's make it worth it.
Wow.
Okay, mic test. There we go. There's some spikes. Come on now. Come on now.
Spike it up. Spike it up. Spike it up. I was doing spikes in the buck up.
Spike in the butt. All right, man. What are you putting on?
I don't even know, man.
You put on the Iron Claw just so we can really get into it. Ready to get into it. Ready to get into it. Police shootings and mukbangs. Is that what you're fucking...
I think my nephew and my mom have been on this. Mostly my nephew.
And car crashes. Best ice cream?
No, that's me.
Still a little in there. Be careful. Oh, yeah. Who's starting it?
And we're back.
We're back.
Here at the Pursuit of Coziness.
Yep.
Episode 3 in a slightly different environment than you may have expected us to
Not
be in.
gay. Just want to say that.
Yeah.
Just not
We
gay.
did not just finish. I'm not waiting for the towel as he is going to go get the towel. But we wanted to show
As business owners, you're constantly trying to...
pull up to the burn.
You're constantly trying to innovate, find new,
Ideas,
better, more
ideas.
interesting ways to do things, how to captivate an audience.
We're the modern day J-Lo.
You guys are here right now. You're in the palm of my hand. And it's because what? Because we duct taped our tripod to a clothing rack and changed it up, changed up the mood, changed up the vibe.
You know what I'm
Talk
saying?
about our feelings while we're nice and cozy laying in bed together, 2 feet away. Not even that. And let's get into it, huh?
Feels cozy.
Yeah, this is nice.
Well, the more... Oh, at least we don't have to worry about the socks.
Do you think it's a little too comfortable? Like we're not really on it?
We'll see. I think that's more of a problem that's going to happen after 30 minutes. Okay, Chris. Stop. Stop. This is the Pursuit of Coziness. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right.
how's,
So if you guys are new here, this is a different segment that we have kind of more geared towards
Mental health.
like therapy, like our therapy journey since we're both in therapy, and just our thoughts on a lot of emotional and mental health issues.
Yep.
Since we like to talk about that a lot anyways, and we thought, why not make a separate segment about it for people who care? And if you don't care, then go head on to the Cozy Show. And you get a little bit more of that
Go shove it.
instead. Okay, that's it.
All right.
All right, so you want to start off with anything?
Huh? Let's see. I've been learning a lot about my attachment style. Have you learned about yours?
Yeah.
What did you learn about yours? See how I flipped that on you?
Jesus, seriously. I think I learned that I'm an avoidant attachment style. I think I'm a...
No shot. No shot,
I don't think
but
I am actually.
I'm just kidding.
I
Okay,
don't-
there's 4 attachment styles, you guys. Let's see if I can name them all.
I don't know if I should.
There's anxious attachment. There's avoidant attachment.
A lot of mansplaining on this one. Chris loves
What
to do
else
that.
is there? What the fuck else is there?
It's an
Can we
avoidant.
Google that real quick.
It's avoidant, anxious, and...
There's 2 more.
It's avoidant, anxious, and secure.
Secure is one of them.
And
There's
then
another one.
there's the one that's like 2, right? Isn't it like avoidant, anxious attachment or something?
I think there's a 4th, but then there's a new one they've come out with within the last like 40 years or so.
Yeah, I'm an
It's
I'm
called-
an avoidant attachment, bitch.
It's called anxious avoidant. You're avoidant? You be simping though, you know?
What?
I didn't expect that. Avoidant attachment. Island. Self-soothe. Space independence. Hobbies. I can see that. So what I've learned about mine is that I am... What I believe I am is anxious avoidant, which is also called disorganized attachment style, because you don't align completely with one of the attachment styles. You align with like multiple at a time, which would be the anxious attachment style and the avoidant attachment style. So I'm always kind of teetering back and forth. So like I'll teeter this way to the anxious side of things. And this is how your attachment style, just give some background real quick, is basically it kind of determines how you are in relationships. Definitely like romantic relationships, but also just relationships with like family and friends and Yeah. And but we're both in relationships right now, so I think we're kind of like putting our lives under a microscope, and at least I am. And yeah, I'll like teeter both ways. So like I'll teeter towards the anxious attachment style for like a few days or like a week at a time, where I'm like super simping and like want to be with my Bonnie, my boo, my lover, my world. I want to be with my girlfriend for like, I just want to be like with her all the time, inseparable. And then something will kind of like change inside me where like I start to swing more towards the avoidant attachment style, where I'm like, okay, I need my space. I need my personal time. I need to work on my hobbies. I need to edit some videos. I need to go run. That kind of thing, So it's like, it's hard to navigate, and I've never even become like aware of this until very recently in my therapy journey. So I'm trying to learn how to like manage the highs and lows of that. I don't want to swing too far to anxious or swing too far to avoidant. I'm trying to manage and like really get in tune with myself to where I can start to pick up on like, okay, I can sense that I need some me time soon. So I'll like, give myself that space so that I don't end up like hanging out with my girlfriend and then getting snappy with her.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Because that's happened definitely, where it's like, I think I want to hang out because I am feeling like anxiously attached, but also at the same time, I can feel that I'm like, I need some space, And then I'll like fold and hang out with her, and she can tell I'm kind of like snappy, or I'm just not that like, I'm not as affectionate as usual maybe, or like I'm just not as energetic, and she can tell the difference. So I'm trying to not do that anymore. Like I'm trying to listen to myself and what I need at that time, so that I don't like jump the gun and end up hanging out when like I really need some space, and then everything just feels kind of weird, and I don't want her to feel like any weirdness,
Yeah.
So I'm really trying to like understand that. Shout out to Lindsay for putting up with that too, because I know it could be like not the funnest thing or kind of confusing, because I don't even know, I'm trying to figure it out myself. So
like the benefit, right? You're saying too also of like knowing your attachment style is just to know kind of like what your mentality is going to be, and like how you're going to be able to handle like different, like when you're like your mentality and energy kind of changes. That makes sense.
I think it helps you understand like why you feel like you need space, or why you feel like you're like really, really wanting to see that person, or why you're really like, because and being like the disorganized attachment, it gets really confusing, which is what my therapist talks about a lot. And she always uses like the term we when she's describing it, like we do this, we do that. And so I'm like, I pointed it out. I was like, I noticed you keep saying we, She's like, yeah, because like she's, disorganized too. And she's like, yeah, it could be like really hard to navigate, because it's like anything can kind of just like flip, and then you just want to be like alone, But yeah, I'm trying to learn about it so that I know like how to read myself, so that the vibes are always like good.
Yeah.
Is that your question?
Yeah. Like what's the benefits of knowing your attachment styles is what is essentially.
I think so that I'm trying to learn to give myself like enough personal time, because that's something I haven't done in the past, and I like spread myself too thin, and then sometimes the relationship like starts to become like less of a priority than it should be. Like this week, for example, like yesterday we played tennis all day after I got off work, and I like went home and only had like 2 hours of me time before I went to sleep, and did it all again. And now here I am straight after work, we're doing a podcast. So I'm trying to learn to like get the me time in there, so that there's time for everyone, including myself, because I used to just like fucking podcast, go play tennis with you, go hang out with coworkers, do this, do that, and then I try to fit the relationship in there, but then there's no time for me. And then I feel like, you know, my significant other can tell and that there's something off, and then I'm like, fuck, I don't even know. But like now I'm becoming aware of it, which is nice to know what's going on, because I'm like, I'm not managing my time well and giving myself the time and space that I need from everyone else to be in the ideal circumstance when we're together. You know? Does that make sense?
How'd you find out about your attachment style?
So I would talk a lot about, like, great question, about like insecurities that I would have in the relationship. I've struggled with that a lot. And even like in my past relationship as well. And that's like, she had talked about a couple things that could be like causing it after kind of like probing me and seeing, you know, my past and what's going on with me. And she's like, I think this has a lot to do with attachment style. And she's like, you should look into that. She sent me a bunch of stuff to like read and videos to watch and stuff. So I started like educating myself on it. And I learned that I don't identify with like one single one, and that I am disorganized, anxious, avoidant attachment style. But for the anxious attachment style, some of the like qualities that I was like resonating with was regulating yourself through others, or like you put your romantic partner on a pedestal and you like idolize them, and then you view yourself almost as like lower than them or like nothing. And like when I heard that in a video that I was watching, I was like, dude, like that's exactly what I do, and I've always done that. Like when I start talking to someone or getting in a relationship, I start to like, I do idolize the person. And when you idolize someone like that, you start to kind of like pick them apart in your head. It's another quality of anxious attachment style. Because you're idolizing them so much and you hold them in such a high regard, and you're almost like putting your happiness in them. Like however they're doing is however you're doing. And however the relationship is, like the status of it, if you guys are on good terms or bad terms, that's what you are, you know? And I noticed I'd start doing that. So I'd like regulate how I felt through my significant other. And it gets really unhealthy, and that's where like a lot of the insecurities come from, because you start to lose yourself, you know? Like you're kind of identifying yourself as like a boyfriend instead of an individual, you know? There's got to be like a happy medium there, you know? So what was your question again? How did I start?
How'd you find out about it?
How did I find out? Yeah, I started watching all those videos and stuff and like reading about it, and yeah, I was like struggling with a lot of like insecurities and stuff, and I realized that I was just like, I was losing the shit out of myself, you know, because I was just like, all I ever thought about was like the relationship and my partner, and like, you know, the things that made me feel insecure, and I would just start picking her apart and thinking about this and that, and like, you know, shit like that. So yeah, I started doing a deep dive, and then I just noticed that like there were qualities from avoidant attachment and qualities from anxious attachment that like both resonated, but not all of them would resonate. And then she was like, yeah, you're definitely the disorganized, meaning I'm both. Yeah, I'm both. Yeah, I had a drink. Yeah, I smoked.
Was that Drake?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Guys stuck in
So what about you? After the fucking
14.
20 minutes of me talking.
15, huh? Well, I don't know. I thought I was avoidant, but now I'm thinking it's the one where you're a little insecure and like you're scared of your partner leaving.
I was definitely anxious.
I think it's that one.
That's for sure anxious.
I believe it was
I
that
feel like
one.
you're disorganized like me, because I can see the avoidance in you, and as well in past relationships, if you don't mind me saying that.
Sure.
And
Alright, shut it. I'm just kidding.
I can see both in you. I mean, I don't want to like diagnose you or anything, but I don't know. I feel like I see both qualities in you of like the anxious and the avoidant.
Well, I feel like it's hard to...
Do you ever feel like you need me time? Like you're just kind of burnt out and you're like, okay, I need you to like...
I feel like, well, with a lot of my relationships, I've had like life circumstance where I can't be like super overwhelmed, you know?
Like
It's
you
like
guys
I'm not
couldn't
hanging out with
spend.
like them every day.
Yeah.
But I guess, well, yeah, I guess there's definitely times. I mean, but I feel like that's kind of normal too, you know?
I was talking to my mom. Sorry to throw you under the bus, Mom, if you're watching. But
It's a regular thing.
what?
It's a regular thing now.
Yeah, literally. But I was talking to her about all this stuff, just kind of like telling her what I'd learned in therapy and whatnot. Because I think me and her have always both like agreed on how we both need like a lot of alone time. I've always felt like that. Like even before relationships, just with friendships, it was like I'd spend the night at my friend's house and they'd want me to stay like all day the next day and then spend the night again. And I'd be like, no. Even as a kid, like 8 years old, I'm like, I want to go home. You know, like I just want to be in my room alone, you know? And so yeah, me and my mom have always like, what's the word? Agreed on that?
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, we've like found common ground there. Like, yeah, we both need alone time. That's been an issue for her, like in the past with relationships and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm like anxious avoidant, meaning like sometimes I'm kind of needy and I really want to be with the person, want to be with them every day, and then sometimes I'll be like, I need like a couple days away, you know? I was like, don't you feel like that? And she was like, I just feel like I need my alone time all the time.
Yeah.
She's like, and I was like, you've never felt like you're just like infatuated with the person and you want to be with them like all day, all night? And she's like, no. Just straight up, she's like, no, I've never felt like that. And I was
That's
like,
crazy.
damn. So I think she's avoidant because, like, I've seen her in a few relationships, like since her and my dad divorced and stuff. And I feel like it's always been like an issue for her that the guy is always more needy than she is, and she gets like kind of turned off by it, you know, and it's just like, ugh, like too much, you know?
Yeah.
So
She
I'm
needs
like,
someone kind
wow,
of like
you
what?
know?
Maybe like nonchalant as well?
I think also avoidant would be good. I mean, in all my like psychology classes, they'd always say birds of a feather flock together, because
Mhm.
it's like a common misconception where people say opposites attract, and it's really not that true. Like when you have different interests, you're just not really gonna click as well, and it's not really gonna last, you know. But what was your question? This always happens in therapy, dude.
I don't think there was a
where
question.
she asks me a question, my therapist, and I just go, and I'm like, what was the question?
Yeah.
But she loves it. She's like, no, this is good. Like, that's what I want. I want you to just, like, explore yourself, you know?
What happens with me with like her icebreaker? I just do like a small little icebreaker and I'll just go forever. Like I'll just go for the rest of my day, you know?
Really?
Or just the rest of my week on what did I wanted to say.
Do you guys just still start on, like, doesn't she say, like,
Describe your week in one word.
Oh, that's tough, dude.
Yeah, I never
My
even
week's
do.
always like this. Like,
I
it's
never even do
always-
the one word really anymore. I just start going, like I said,
Oh,
you know,
really?
because I'm just like it's hard. I'll try to a little bit, like you know.
Each day's just so different for me. Like, some days are shit and some days are great, you know? So
Yeah.
it's like I can't give you one answer on my whole week, you know?
Look like
Well, I guess you're probably supposed to weigh it, you know? Remember I told my therapist that. She's like, so how was your week? And I'm like, whenever you ask me that, I don't know what to say because it's never just one word, you know? And she's like, well, tell me about the good, the ups and tell me about the downs. And I was like, okay, you know? So that was easier. But so you think you're anxious avoidant? Do you agree with that? What do you think?
I think so. I just can't remember.
How do you feel? Like regarding relationships?
Depending on the definitions, I guess. But I don't know because we talked about it like 6 weeks ago. I feel like
Damn.
it's been a while.
Are you
We
just
haven't
scared
really-
to say?
No.
Like if you get to the point where you need space?
Huh?
That's okay too. Like, are you scared to say on the pod live?
No, I just want to. I wish I retouched on the definitions to like talk about it
Yeah.
more. You know what I'm saying? Because they're all pretty definitioned.
I remember the fourth one. there's secure attachment, anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, and dismissive attachment. Dismissive is a really dangerous attachment style. Not dangerous, but it can be like really scary because that's where a lot of narcissists have the dismissive attachment style because they literally dismiss everything. Like their significant other will bring up like an issue or show that they're unhappy or they'll like cheat on them, and then when they're like upset about it, they like dismiss it. Like well, it's not a big deal, or like you should have done this, or well, you did this. It's like shit like that. But
So you are.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, this whole disorganized. Maybe that's in there.
And attachment styles, if you're wondering, and then we'll probably move on, is the way they are like caused is like your experiences as a child, they say. So like how like attentive your caregiver was. You can learn all about this if you just like search it on YouTube and watch a video. But if you have like really like attentive caregivers, meaning like parents or whoever like, you know, raised you, and like when you're crying as a baby, if they come and tend to you and they're like always there for you, that forms a more like secure attachment. But if you're like crying and they kind of just leave you alone in the room and they're like, oh, let's let them cry it out, that will create like a more like the other ones, like anxious or dismissive, avoidant type of deal. But yeah, what else should we talk about?
Oh.
I feel like you've just been listening to me the whole time.
You've been saying good stuff.
Is there any like other stuff you've been working on in therapy that you'd like to discuss?
I guess it's just been a lot of relationship stuff.
But yeah, do you not want to talk about that?
No, I mean it's nothing crazy. I mean mostly it's just a lot of new territory, I guess.
Yeah,
for
same.
me. So it's like it's just a lot of work in a sense. Like not even because of like the other person or like Taylor or anything.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily them. It's just that like it could be anyone. It's just that I'm in therapy at the same time of being with someone is the big thing. It's like I guess in the past when you're not in therapy and you're with someone, it's kind of easier to have like issues and kind of solve them and kind of try to figure it out. But you're like now you're involving a third person ish, and you're really trying to get to like the root of things and trying to figure out like the best way to handle things and like why things happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're broadening everything, so it's just harder, but also like the rewards are just so much better, you know?
Yeah.
Because like I feel like if you're actually understanding things and fixing things and figuring things out for the next time, you know?
Yeah.
But that's been, I mean, most of my appointments for the last couple months is just like it's about the relationship, but it's more about me and how I handle situations, like and how I handle things and emotions. And something she was saying was, because I was like, well, I hate sometimes that like my responses to issues is like seems childish, you know, like I'm not handling things as maturely as I should.
Mm-hmm.
And she said kind of like, since this is all still new to me, like certain issues,
Yeah.
like you're still like a childlike in that sense, and like you're still, you kind of revert to your child ego because like you're not mature in that sense. She brings up egos a lot, by the way, like child ego. It's child ego, adult ego, and parent ego.
I don't know. I've never learned that.
Really?
Egos? No, we haven't talked about that a whole lot.
But even in psychology, did you guys talk about
Say
egos?
it again.
The child ego.
I mean, I know
adult
the id, the ego, and the superego.
Oh, no.
But that was kind of a Freudian, outdated kind of thing.
Yeah.
I haven't heard about that. No.
But that's kind of like how basically I'm taking this whole approach with like therapy in terms of relationship. It's like all this stuff is still like a child. Like all these emotions and all these ways I'm handling things are like, I'm still like a child, like an infant with it.
It makes sense, right? To have it explained that way.
Yeah. Because it's like I've never had to work on these things before, so it's like I'm still like a baby in all these senses.
Yeah.
And like we're trying to like mature it all and understand it all, so that like not saying even in the same relationship or in a next relationship, either or, you're better, you know? Like it's like you're not like so unfamiliar with everything, and how do you handle things, and like how do you react to things. It's like kind of like what you were saying with your attachment styles. It's like, well, now that you're learning about it and learned about it, and you're going to continue to learn about it, in maybe like a couple of years, you're definitely going to be way more understanding of it.
Shit makes so much sense, dude. It just, everything starts to make sense more. It's crazy because when I first started therapy, I was so overwhelmed because I would just like, everything just seemed so complicated. Like, I don't know, it just seemed like there were so many layers to like the issues I was having, and it was just so hard to like navigate and figure out the causes of things.
Yeah.
And the longer I've been in it, I think I've been in it since August of last year. So what's that, like 8 months or something?
August, really?
No, 6 months?
No, longer.
7?
What month
7
is
months.
August then?
8. So it's 7 months now, I think. 7 or
Mhm.
8. And everything just starts, like, you realize it's, like, kind of interconnected. Like, everything's kind of, like, you start to make a lot of connections. And it's just so sick that it's, like, starting to, like, come together more. And I feel like lately, like, the past, like, month or two, I've really started to, like, benefit from therapy, like, more than I ever have. 'Cause I feel like for a while it was like, it was nice, it felt good, I was learning stuff, but it was like, I don't know, I wasn't seeing the results I was hoping for. Like, I was seeing results, but not as much as I wanted to see, you know? And now I'm, like, really starting to see it, you know, and it's really cool. But speaking
So,
of
or
the,
how are you seeing it?
I think just, like, my insecurities are, like, I'm so much more, like, aware of myself, and, like, I'm able to stop myself before I go down, like, rabbit holes in my mind of things. And the way that I talk to myself to, like, ground myself is getting so much better. Like, dude, learning about the attachment style just really fucking changed things for me, because I just started to get a fucking grip on myself.
Oh.
You know? And it's crazy because, like you, like, I mostly just talk about my relationship in therapy. It's like I started for, like, so many other reasons, but I usually just talk about the relationship because that's, like, what's going on, you know? But, yeah, I don't know. I'm able to, like, hold on to myself tighter. Like, when I start to go down a rabbit hole or get insecure, anxious about things, like, I catch myself and I talk to myself and I tell myself, like, look, you're your own person. I kind of hype myself up a little bit.
Oh.
Like, you're your own person. You're cool. You're handsome. You have a really big dick. And you don't need to, like, you're regulating yourself through someone else again. Like,
Yeah.
you need to, you need to hold on to yourself here. You're really cool. You're sensitive. You're fun. You know? I start to kind of reel myself back in when I start to, like, get
like
too far
feel
out
down
there.
or
Yeah.
overwhelmed.
And, like, in other news, when you're talking about the, like, you're reacting as if you're a child because it's kind of like new territory thing, it reminded me, we were talking, like, a few weeks ago in therapy about, well, I guess we were still talking about the attachment styles, but I was just talking about how, like, my therapist was saying, she's like, in households that were really chaotic and, like, kind of traumatic and just unpredictable, she's like, children tend to, like, just do their own thing. Like, you tend to seclude yourself a lot. You, like, go in your room or you'll go do your own thing. You tend to, like, spend a lot of time on your own. And I did that. Like, for so much of my childhood, I was just in my room, like, watching Fairly Odd Parents or, like, Drake and Josh or whatever, you know? I was always in my room alone. Like, most of my memories, I feel like, as a child, I was always alone. Like, we never really, like, would do stuff as a family. Like, we'd watch movies sometimes, but then after I just go to my room. Like, always in my room, you know?
Yeah.
And if I wasn't in my room, I was outside skateboarding. Alone. Like, I was always alone, you know?
Who played with you as like a 3-year-old?
Played with me?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I guess you won't remember.
I don't
Like,
remember, which is why it's hard to, like, understand my attachment style, like, causes, because it's like,
You don't know.
I don't remember, you know?
But if you were to guess, like, was your mom or dad pretty playful, like, in that when you were younger, you know, or do you think it was your sisters?
More my sisters, I think.
Okay, anyways,
That's what I remember.
It was a
yeah.
random question.
As like a, you know, as far as my memories go back, I just remember being with my sisters, and, like, my parents were always kind of just, like, doing their own thing, you know. Where was that? Okay, with the child stuff. So it makes so much sense because I've always secluded myself, you know? And my, like, family in my household, it was, like, pretty chaotic, and there was, you know, it was, like, unpredictable, and I never really knew, like, what state my house was going to be in when I would, like, get home from school that day, you know? So it makes sense. And then my therapist was talking about how, like, just being in somebody else's space, like, being in somebody else's house for too long, can be kind of, like, triggering in a way, because you're so used to spending time in your space that being in someone else's for too long, it's like really uncomfortable. And I really fucked with that, you know? Like, that really resonated for me. And I brought you up. I was like, that's so crazy because that's so true for me, because Jaime is like, I guess less now, but like you're always offering the invitation to spend the night here.
Oh yeah.
And I always decline it. Like, even if we've been out like drinking or something, I'm like, I'll sober up.
It's like
and
we're
then I'll
home
go
at like 4 a.m.
I literally go home at like 4 a.m. because
I'm like, just stay.
I'd rather sleep in my own bed.
Yeah.
I just love being in my place.
Well, waking up to your place is probably the best
and
feeling.
especially waking up there. And that's another thing she talked about, is like, it could just be so uncomfortable not starting your day in your space.
Mm-hmm.
And like, dude, it's so true. And it's like, ugh, I have to go home, and it's like I have to kind of reset, you know? And that just was, that was really crazy for me to hear. There was another connection I was going to make with that. Give me a second. Damn it. There's something else with the childhood stuff. Oh, here's another thing I'll talk about. I may have talked about this before on the pod, but I can't remember. I was also talking about how, in therapy, I was talking about how there's, like, friends from my past that I've just kind of, like, outgrown, I guess. I'm not going to, like, name any names, obviously. But it's, like, people who I was, like, inseparable with in the past, you know? But then now, all of a sudden, it's like, we just never fucking see each other, you know? Or if we do, it's for, like, a few hours, and then we, like, part ways, you know? And it's like, I see them, and it's really good to see them and kind of, like, catch up and stuff. But at the same time, it feels, like, a little triggering. Like, it feels, like, uncomfortable in ways. And I never knew why that was, and I'd always feel bad about that, because I'm like, why do I want to leave these people? You know, like, it's cool to see them and stuff, but once I get home, I'm like, oh, like, I could just take a deep breath, and I'm like, okay, nice. Like, it feels good to be back by myself, or like in, you know, away from those people. And she's like, certain people or certain environments, like, they're gonna take you back to feelings and experiences that you had as a kid. Like, it's gonna bring up those old experiences and stuff. And I was like, that makes so much fucking sense, because these people I'm referring to, it's like, when I was hanging out with them and stuff, times were a lot rougher, you know? Like, things were a lot, like, worse at home, and maybe I would act a different way with them than I do now. It's like I was a little bit more, like, hardened back then, and I kind of, like, put up a front a little bit more. So when I see them now, it's like I can't be, like, the soft, matured person I am now. Like, it takes me back to, like, those times, those, like, childish times. Mm-hmm. And I think that has to do, like, remember recently we were talking about a mutual friend of ours and how one of their old friends, they've, like, fallen off, and this person reached out to their old friend who they've fallen off with, and the old friend told them, I just don't really think I can, like, be around you anymore, because, you know, when we were friends before, like, I was really going through it, and it's like, when I'm with you now, it's like, it just brings back all that stuff, and I just can't really do it. It's like the same thing, you know?
Mm-hmm,
which is kind of interesting to me, because I just made all those connections at the time, and I was like, wow.
Like, for
what do you
you,
think about that?
You feel like it... What do you think about that? The side eye?
Oh. I mean, does that make any fucking... Is there any connection there with you, or no? You not experienced that?
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think I experienced that. I think for me, too, when I'm seeing, like, people I haven't seen before, I definitely feel that sense of kind of, it brings you back to those, like, time... God, I'm struggling so much to fucking speak today.
Me too.
Oh, you're doing great.
Yeah.
Like, it brings me back to that mentality again of, like, how I was when I was with them, you know? But I also think it's kind of like jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, nice.
Where it's like the less you do it and the less like you're there, when you do go, it feels worse.
Oh.
So I think that's only like part of it, but I definitely think that's like some of it is like if I haven't seen a friend in a year or even like 4 months and I try to hang out with them, it's a lot harder to get in the groove because I haven't seen them. And like maybe we can have a better connection, but it's just I don't see him often.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels a little bit harsher.
Yeah. I can see that.
But I mean, I think that's not necessarily the case for when you haven't seen any, like when this has been like a few years, just because you guys changed so much, but like you haven't changed together, you know?
Yeah.
There was another aspect. Oh, sometimes I think it's also the concept. Let me see if I could give an example that's like just very vague. Let's just say I have a friend that's friend or family member that's older, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, okay, let's just say friend, family, or mentor, one of the whatever. Okay, we're going vague here.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're a little older, and we knew each other when I was younger. And then we've fallen off a little bit, and I've seen them now.
Yeah.
If they're not doing, I guess, well in life, or they're kind of the same, I think it's also I'm uncomfortable with not the person, but like what they're going through, whether that be like aging,
Mm-hmm.
like struggling,
Yeah.
or like if they were doing drugs or if they were drinking or being stagnant, or like maybe the issues that they have that I have issues within myself. So I think that's another kind of aspect. And I've seen that a lot with people like I haven't talked with in a while, and then I revisit them and I get like those vibes. It's not necessarily them, but it's like the
lack of like growth or
I mean like
momentum.
just any like, but that's not even because like let's just say someone I knew that was like let's just say they're like 26 now, and I met them. Like, because I'm scared of aging and stuff like that. Like, I feel uncomfortable around them, if that makes sense, you know?
Because then it reminds you that, like...
Well, that I'm going to get like that.
To 26.
You know,
26 is not that fucking old.
Yeah, Chris,
I'm 2 years away.
I know.
I'm knocking on 26's door.
I guess I'm just trying to say, like, it's not just one thing. I feel like it's just a bunch of things, you know?
I definitely related to...
The struggling
and
thing.
like a few people were coming to mind where it's like, yeah, I'll see them for the first time in like a few years or like a year, and then they're like kind of in the same place or something, and then I'm like, kind of just puts a damper on the whole experience for me. Does that make sense?
Because then you reflect on yourself, right? And then you're like, well, what if I'm like getting stuck?
No, I think we're feeling that way for different reasons.
Do you think because like you're
I
feeling?
think for me, it just bums me out because I'm like, I want you to like do better.
Yeah.
Like I want the best for you, and I'm not really seeing that. So then it makes me depressed, you know?
Yeah, that's definitely.
And it triggers me
another one.
even more because it's like they're not that far from where we were when we would hang out before, you know? Like not that much has changed.
Yeah,
you know?
so it makes you uncomfy.
I think so, because then it like reminds me of those times even more, you know? Because it's like it's still almost in the same state, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of like, oh, you just got this like, it sounds kind of fucked, but like, just an example. It's like I would love to see you, and it's like you've kind of matured at a similar rate as me, you know, and like I think there's just differences now because I think I've matured so much since like, you know, since my like
10 years ago.
Exactly. It's like
When you're
I've changed
18.
a lot, you know. I've matured and I've found peace, you know. I mean, it's never always peaceful, but like I think I'm in like a lot more peaceful of a place than I've ever been. But then I like see some people again, and then it brings me back because they haven't like also matured and found like the same peace. It's like the same vibes as when it used to be, you know?
Yeah, same with parent stuff, you know? Like same with parents on
Oh yeah.
like parents is a big one where I'm like, you're kind of the same as you've always been.
Yeah.
or parent dynamics.
Or family.
Family, yeah, that's a big one. It's like you know, you don't
go
talk
and
to him for a while, and then you see him, and they're like,
fighting about the same stuff.
yeah, and it's just like,
and you're like, oh shit, like this is what used to
just
make
like
me so uncomfortable.
predictable.
Yeah.
Like-
And then you know, like, what to tiptoe around and what to talk about and not talk
Oh,
about.
how to steer
Because you don't want to
conversations.
start, like,
Yeah,
down that road,
rabbit hole.
you know? That's the type of stuff that fucking creates attachment style, man. You know? I don't think it's just your baby experiences. It's, like, growing up, too. Like...
You talked about this on the Cozy Show. What are some discoveries you've made with, like, your mother? And
I feel bad, man, because I'm not trying to just keep throwing her under the bus, you know? But...
All right, you don't have to talk about it. Move on to...
Yeah, since I've already talked about it on the Cozy Show.
Okay.
No, I mean, she knows, and she said it hurt her feelings when I talked about it.
She watched it?
Yeah, I think I've talked about it more recently. But when I talked about it a while ago, it said it hurt her.
Oh.
She said it hurt her feelings, but I mean, it's kind of along the same lines of what we just said. Like with parents, like you see them, and then they still get like you know what to tiptoe around, you know what to talk about and not talk about, and like I feel like that in itself can be kind of like makes you a little anxious. But yeah, I feel like since I like moved out of my mom's house, when I go back, there's just like some guilt tripping that I like never realized how big of a toll it kind of took on me, and like kind of built like a guilty conscience within me. Yeah, that's a big one that I've like come to realize is just how much like guilt tripping there would be when I would like not want to do something that like, you know, she wanted me to do. I just feel so bad talking about this.
Don't talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the thing I've come to. It's like, I've always had a guilty conscience, and like people in my past would point that out a lot, and I'd be like, where does that come from, you know? And then it wasn't until they were kind of like around me and my family and saw the dynamic, and they'd be like, dude, like, there's kind of a lot of guilt tripping going on, you know? And so I started kind of talking about that in therapy, and, you know, for an example, the gopher situation from the last episode.
Fucking is hilarious.
Just the pressuring of me to go fucking end a gopher's life in my mom's backyard. And upon saying no, was called a weenie. And, but, yeah, you know, it's crazy. You don't realize, like, I've just realized recently in therapy, like, how much the childhood does shape who you are and how you are, and your family dynamic and the trauma, if there is any, you know, shit like that. It really fucking shapes how you are as an adult, you know? It's like very impactful, because I feel like that's kind of like a stereotype of like psychology in general. It's like, oh, you're just gonna ask me how I was as a kid and this and that, you know? It holds some weight, you know? Like, there is a lot of importance to that in the environment you grew up in. And if you felt like you had to, like, walk on eggshells, meaning, like, you were never trying to upset anybody or, like, set anyone off or, like, talk about those topics to, like, steer the conversation the right way, that, like, creates a lot of people-pleasing tendencies, you know?
Yeah, something I was talking about to my therapist today was, like, I feel very uncomfortable around like just men, or like white men, but just men in general, and
White men, huh?
like older.
Nah, yeah,
whatever.
for sure.
And
As do I.
And like we kind of brought it back to like how I experienced things as a teen, and what's before teen, young adolescent,
Preteen?
preteen,
Child?
Huh?
Child?
Yeah, as a child. And one of the things I was saying was that I was always kind of scared that like different men in my life like would like there were just never not harsh reactions to things, you know? Either like if it was a mistake or if I was doing something, mostly if I was doing something, anything I was doing that was like anything, I guess, was just met with like a harsh or like rude reaction or comment. And so now when I'm just around men, I'm just like very tense and like shriveled up because I'm like expecting that, and I'm very like nervous and very like trying to be people pleasy and like just shy, and like I don't like that. I was telling her because I was like, well, I'm 23, you know, like like I don't want to be like, for example, one of the things was like I was with Taylor's parents a couple of days ago, and like their parents are like super nice. Like her dad's really nice, her mom's really nice, and they're good people. And like they invited me over to make me dinner. That was great. And the whole time was like great, and I felt pretty comfy. But there was definitely some times where I was just like tense, to just being like, is the dad gonna like be rude, or like the mom, or mostly the dad, you know, like are they gonna tell me to like leave, like are they gonna get tired, or are they gonna say like don't do this, or what if I mess up and like drop something. And I told my therapist, I'm like, yeah, there's obviously like some expectations of being nervous because it's like your significant other's parents, but I'm like, but I'm with that with like any situation, you know. And we kind of just talked about like how certain people in like my childhood and stuff like that would like just be really mean to me as a kid, and like it just wasn't fair because I was just like not doing anything really that wrong, and they weren't like soft about it, you know. And so now I'm just like conditioned to expect like a harsh ass reaction for everything, you know, and not just like oh hey, like, you know, maybe don't do that, or you know, we're gonna go to bed, so can you guys like leave or something, you know. It's more just like rude comments and side comments that I'm expecting, or just like harsh, like mean yelling or something, you know.
I resonate with that a lot, actually. I think I struggle with it, but maybe in a slightly different way. I feel like I'm always wrestling with like being myself and being really genuine to myself around like extended family or like people that I look up to and respect their opinions. I always wrestle with like being myself and kind of like putting on a little bit of like a front with them, because I feel like growing up, I feel like I'd be around a lot of people who like just didn't really like approve of what I wanted to do in life, or like felt like they knew what was best for me, or like try to push their like shit onto me about like which direction my life should go. And so I feel like now I like get really anxious when there's like small talk about like careers and like jobs, and like what do you do for a living and what do you want to do. I think partly also because like I fucking don't really know what I want to do, you know. Like
that's some insecurity within yourself.
Exactly. I think there's insecurities there, because it's like, you know, I have the podcaster dream of like making a living off this, but it's like I never want to tell people that because I don't want them to fucking look at me like I'm crazy, you know. So it's always like hard, and I get super anxious in those situations of like, what do you do for a living or whatever, you know. Like I hate small talk because I never want to like, I just never feel comfortable. I feel insecure about like where I'm at, I guess, at times, like career wise or like money wise and stuff. So I think that's something
it's gonna happen during Easter, right? Now
anxious about. Yeah, like I dread like family gatherings because I just don't even want to like have those conversations. Like, how's work? And I'm like, it fucking sucks, you know. Like, it's work. Like I have, you know, not that much passion for it. But I'm doing it because I need money to fucking live, you know? It's like I just can't fake shit, you know? I feel like people, I just don't understand. I don't understand how people just work and they're just content, you know? How do you just settle for fucking like 9 to like, God, we've talked about it like ad nauseum on this pod.
We haven't for a while, though.
Not on this one, but on the Cozy Show. Yeah, I know. It's been a long time.
Good.
But it's just like, I just can't wrap my mind around like giving up 40 hours a fucking week to some fucking person who doesn't even care about me, you know? To just doing stuff for someone else. Like, what is that, you know?
So it's like,
you know, rare.
Once you get that idea in your head, it's hard to like.
It is. Man, it's hard to look back.
To shake. Real quick, to take it back to therapy. Now that you've been in it for a while, any issues you've faced with it. Pretty broad, but just like any issues you faced with being in therapy. I can start.
I think like there's been times where I just get really uncomfortable sometimes or like anxious before therapy because sometimes I know what I want to talk about and what I need to talk about, but sometimes I just don't want to talk about it. Like I'm like, fuck, like this is so uncomfortable to share. Or like I know what the answer is going to be and I know I'm going to like get this advice that I just need to like face the issue, and sometimes I feel like I'm not totally ready to like have a conversation or like face someone about something. So I'd say that maybe is an issue. My therapist does call me out on my bullshit sometimes, which I really like that she does that. I think she like straddles everything very well. Like she's very supportive when it's like warranted, but she also will not hesitate to like tell me that I'm fucking wrong, or like tell me that something I did or a way that I'm thinking is like inappropriate. Like she'll definitely like let me have it, which is nice. Like I'm glad that she puts me in check.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't think I've had very many issues really. No. What about you?
Yeah, kind of what you were saying. There's definitely times where I'm like anxious as hell to like go in, and like I almost want to make an excuse to like not go. You know? Just like cancel it or something, because it's either like two things. It's either something, or it's just something I've maybe discovered that I don't want to talk about. Or something that I've done. There's definitely been a couple where I've done something bad, or just maybe not even bad, but something that has so much layers to it.
Yeah.
That it's just like, gosh, we're going to have to go through it. And I had to tell her.
Yeah.
But I mean, it feels great every time. It feels great every time you kind of expose it. But that's just like one of the bigger ones is like, you would think by now it's like, oh, it's like, it's good old, I can't say her name. Good old Mrs. Therapist, like,
yeah.
will, like, whatever happens, I'll just tell her. But there's definitely a lot of times where I'm like, oh, shit,
Now
like,
I
you think
fucking
about it, like, now I have to tell her. Because, like, I mean, I want to work through it, or I want to kind of dive into it. So I can't just not tell her, and I just get super anxious. Another issue I think, too, is just, I guess, something I think I need to focus on or work on is definitely thinking about therapy. Not thinking about therapy, but I guess just like diving deep into myself on the off days of therapy, so that when I'm in therapy, it's just so much more richer,
Yeah.
Because I just don't journal for shit or like think of my emotions that much, in a sense, to like really dive into like things, so that when it's like being a cook, I feel like, and like, would you rather, or a sous chef? How about that? Huh? A sous chef. Would you rather present the main chef like with all the ingredients he needs, like unprepared and like not organized, or would you rather have everything prepared so when he takes a look at it, it's like all ready to go and it's easier for him? That
was great.
Thanks. I was trying.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm lacking, because it's like when I talk to her, I figured things out in the appointment, which is normal, right?
Yeah.
But I think I could do a good amount of that on the off days, so that when I am with her, it's like it's already so rich into what I need to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the after, like the reflections of things.
I think that's one thing that I do really well is like, but maybe almost to like my detriment, is on my days that I'm not in therapy, I'm always like evaluating myself and like paying attention to the ways I feel and what led up to that and what I can do to fix it and like stuff like that. But it almost gets like really exhausting because I feel like I'm constantly like analyzing myself and like putting myself under a microscope, and it gets really tiring and like overwhelming at times, because I'm just like, fuck, like sometimes it's hard to turn it off because I'm always like trying to become more and more like in tune and self-aware. And it gets to a point sometimes where it's like, Jesus fuck, I just want to turn my brain off for a little bit, you know?
Interestingly enough, I felt like I was like that like a few months ago.
Really?
And for some reason, it's been like a lot less. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I used to just like analyze the shit out of the day and seeing like in what aspects I could be better, like with like, or how I could have handled things better with like relationships and myself and friendships.
Yeah.
And like you're kind of just in this loop of like how to be the best version of yourself, but it's like exhausting because I don't know, like I think there's just at a point where it's like you're just thinking too much into it, you know?
It gets super exhausting, and I think, yeah, you got to try to find the medium there. Because my therapist, too, like, she'll send me a lot of homework and stuff, and, like, stuff to read or whatever. Like, we'll just be talking, and then I see her kind of, like, looking at stuff. Like, she's looking, like, up, and then she'll just send me hella shit. Like, I just get hella messages from her, and it's like, workbook, video, like, all this stuff. And she's like, take your time with this, because it's heavy. You know, like, don't feel like you have to do it all at once, or, like, do it right now. She's like, this is heavy stuff. Like, you're doing heavy work, you know? So she's like, just do this whenever you can. Take your time. So I'm trying to, like, do that a lot more. That's something I'm trying to, like, work on a lot right now, too. Is just being really patient with myself. Because I think I've had this habit my whole life of being really hard on myself. And just having, like, crazy standards and expectations for, like, what to get done in a day and how much stuff to do in a day. Like, I have really strong reactions, kind of like you said, with the men in your life or whatever. Like, if you would make a mistake, it was, like, a huge deal. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I think that was going on a lot with adults in my life growing up, was, like, if I made a mistake, it was a big deal. Always. Like, if I, like, knocked a glass cup off the counter and it broke, shattered on the floor, it was, like, really upsetting to, like, my parents, you know? Not to throw them under the bus again, but I feel like it just has so much relevance here. But it was, like, yeah, things just had strong reactions, you know? Like, I'd be going to, like, baseball practice, and the few times I'd, like, forget my cleats, it was like, how did you forget your cleats? Like, what? Like, it was like, you know, they would kind of, like, lay into me a little bit. And I think that created a Chrissy Poo who is, like, very neurotic, meaning I'm not good at handling, like, failure. I'm not good at handling, like, unexpected changes. I get very upset when things, like, aren't going to plan. Whenever Jaime's holding our camera, I have to micromanage and be like, don't hold it like that, or, like, put it somewhere safe. Don't put it you know, like,
Yeah. I'm
dude,
so used to it with my mom.
I'm catching myself micromanaging people. Same with, like, Lindsay. Like, I'm always like, can you, like, don't put that there, don't put that, you know? It's, like, crazy because I was unaware of that until, like, recently. So I'm trying to, like, constantly remind myself, like, this is not a big deal. Like, don't worry. You don't have to fucking start editing as soon as you get home from work. You can lay in bed and masturbate for, like, 45 minutes, you know? Literally, though, I'm like, I need to give myself time. Like, you need to relax. I just need to relax sometimes, because it's like, for 24 years, I've been going through life thinking that I'm, like, fucking chasing the carrot all the time. Like, I'm just always, like, always doing something. As soon as I wake up, the minute I wake up, I'm like when Lindsay spends the night, I'll usually wake up, like, before her, and instantly I'm like, how can I get my laptop without waking her up? And I'll, like, get my laptop and just start doing shit, like, for the pod, like, while she's laying in bed. Or I'll, like, go in the living room and start, like, cleaning or something. Like, I'm fucking crazy, dude. Like, I have a very, like, anxious and busy body and mind. I can't, like, it's really hard for me to just sit and not do shit, you know? So I'm trying to really remind myself these days, like, it's okay to just not do shit, you know?
What do you think, like, if you could say maybe for the last 2 months of therapy or a month, what do you think is, like, the biggest struggle or something that you guys, like, have been putting a lot of attention to?
I like the way it smells. Can you smell that?
It
Smells good, right?
Well,
like a
little
new
bit. That smells
shoe
like
kind of
you.
smell.
Like your
house.
Your house or something.
Really?
I don't know.
Oh, it's nice.
But yours is more like a.
Oh, it smells like a dentist's office.
Like a used shoe.
Dentist's office?
A little bit, yeah.
Doctor's office. Not ringing any bells? Oh. Wow.
The chemicals from the
It's just
mic.
always relationship stuff, man. But it's been there from the start, and like, not in a bad way. I've said this before, but my therapist, because sometimes I'll point it out. I'm like, I can't believe how much I talk about my relationship in here, because that's not even why I joined, therapy. And she's like, no, like, this is the perfect thing to talk about in therapy, because relationships is where we really are forced to like face our demons. Like, you face all your bullshit once you get in a relationship, because it brings it out of you. It brings out those like things that you're really like insecure about, or like sensitive about, or that you struggle with, because now you have to like, you're in it. You got to consider someone else. You have to like make shit work with other people. So
Real
she's
quick,
like,
sorry, before I lose this.
you're good.
What? Sorry, just because same point as you were saying. I remember I was telling you this at the hot tub, how like my therapist.
God, dude, it's so good, man.
Stop.
I can't stop.
My therapist was saying how like we have, fuck, I keep forgetting all the points, but it was like your private self, I think your public self, and it might have been your, it could have also been your parents.
Wasn't there one in the middle? Like your private self, your public self, and then your work self?
No, I think that's public. It's like with your friendship stuff.
Like, yeah, like intimate, like almost like relationship and friendships.
Yeah, I think it's like, I don't know, something self. But she was saying like in relationships, like your relationship, like your partner, is seeing, like, is getting a glimpse of your private self.
Yeah.
And so that's why like you also get like a lot of these issues and stuff like that, is because they're like, you yourself have issues,
Yeah.
and they're exposed to that, and it's like feels like a lot of pressure now, because it's like, well, now there's someone else involved,
Yeah.
Anyways, keep going.
But yeah, I was just saying that I work on the relationship stuff most of my like sessions. And at first I was like, damn, like what, why, like is something wrong? Like, why am I always working on this stuff? But it's like, I had all these same issues in the past, in my past relationships. So it's like, it's not like it's anything specific to this relationship. It's just in general, like, this is shit that a lot of people need to work on, So I'm learning a lot of things about myself and how to deal with stuff. But honestly, like, yeah, the attachment style has been a huge thing. Just trying to learn how to like use that as a tool. That knowledge is like a tool to help me be more happy, content, help the ship run a little smoother. I think just that. And then toxic shame is like something I've talked about a lot. I think I struggle with that a lot, just like shaming myself for a lot of things. Like, we talked about Jiujitsu before, and I talked about my struggles with it, like kind of having like an ego maybe, or like I'll get anxious going to Jiujitsu sometimes, a lot of the time, most of the time, because I'm like holding myself to this standard or thinking that I need to like know everything, when it's like, that's the whole point of Jiujitsu, is like, you're always learning and you're always losing, like, and you learn by losing, you learn by like messing up and having people take advantage of you, and your mistakes. But I think it's like part of me like never wanting to make a mistake and getting really upset when I do. It's like spilled over into jiu-jitsu, where I'm like, I never want to let this person or this person submit me, because like they've been training this much less time than me. I should be better. It's like I'm holding myself to these like stupid standards, and then it's like ruining jiu-jitsu for me, So, and then we talked about that in therapy a lot, and she's like, this is linked to shame, and you're like, you have this like complex going on where you're like shaming yourself for things instead of just looking at things and like accepting it and seeing how you can like get better and use it to get better, So it's not just jiu-jitsu, it's a lot of shit, but I just have a habit of going straight to like shame and guilt when I mess up, and I'm trying to fix that.
Nice.
What about you? What have you been doing? Then maybe we could close it out.
Yeah, soon. I don't know, like the one today we're talking about, besides that stuff with like the men thing, was kind of like my needs. We've been wanting to work on it for like 2 weeks now. We talked a little bit about this week about just being vulnerable. Like, what are the pros and cons of being vulnerable? And also, like, kind of starting to develop what are my wants and needs with, like, each individual relationship that I have with people and myself, you know? So that's something, that's my homework for the week, is trying to figure out what needs do I want with people.
Are you going to do it?
I'm telling myself I am.
Nice.
So it'll be cool. It's very overwhelming because I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I might start off with like easy people like myself, you, and Taylor. But then it's going to get harder with like maybe needs I want to say, like just convos I haven't had with people. You know? I just feel like I've realized that every time I've disconnected with people, it's just because I never had like a convo with them, and I've just let it like things linger for too long. And now it feels almost like out of place or out of pocket to have a combo.
Yeah,
but I want to have open ears too. Well, yeah, because like maybe there's things I want to say that I just have like built up,
like resentment for.
Yeah, like
I'm
like
guilty
with
of that.
family and friends, and maybe not even just like resentment, but yeah, like the resentment. And just maybe like, oh, this is just how I feel, like transparently as hell about like the friendship or just how things were. Or like with family members, like they're just, I mean, a lot of my family members, I haven't like actually had like a convo with them forever, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like I want to kind of do that, but with now, like kind of like talk a little bit about the past and like how we've both felt with things. But also most importantly is both of us being like, okay, like, well, what are our needs from here on out with each other? So that's a little overwhelming.
Nice.
Like, let's just say, for example, my mom. If I were like, I kind of want to like have a heart-to-heart with her a little bit, but then also be like, well, so we could have a healthier relationship where it's not so awkward. Like, here is what I want from you, and what do you want from me, you know? But like, it's easier with like you or Taylor because it's like we do this all the time, anyways.
We're younger. I feel like we're more open to like having these intimate, vulnerable kind of conversations.
And like it seems less out of left field because it's like a normal combo we'd have versus like maybe like a different friend where it's like, oh, we haven't like had a combo like this so in a while, so I feel like I don't want you to come across like it's like a selfish or I'm attacking, you know?
Yeah, totally.
So that's a big one. I kind of want to kind of get a list of like maybe top 10 people and see what I could come up with as in far as in needs. And maybe even not even tell some of them and just be like, well, what needs do I want? And am I going to keep in my head like that I need from these people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, man. Well.
Anything you want to, anything you're looking forward to have worked on or changed for maybe the next time we do an episode like this?
Honestly, I don't know, man. I just take it as it comes, you know?
As you are, as you wish. Oh, as a friend.
As I want you to be. Take your time. Hurry up. The choice is yours. Don't be late.
We're almost there.
Don't be late.
Na, na, na. Run a me.
Enemy.
Mama mia.
And I swear that I don't have a pew pew.
It sounded for a second like the Drake and Josh one. And or is it? He's like, and I swear you're gonna lose it.
Do you know what's funny?
We're
I'm
still
sure
rolling.
you're fine. Fuck. And if you take some time to realize
Dun, dun,
over
dun.
your shoulder, you know that I told you I'll always be picking you up when you're down. So just turn around. Wait, I was gonna say real
Dude,
quick.
all that Drake and Josh makes me so fucking nostalgic.
Dude, you have to watch
The doc, I don't want to watch
the
it.
documentary. It's gonna fuck you up.
You know what that song always reminds me of too is that episode when they were in the backyard. Sorry, in the
Oh my
parking
God.
lot. It was like in the parking lot, and they were doing like the concert behind like outside for some reason, and they all started singing that song.
Drake and Josh?
Yeah, like they were almost doing like a little mini concert in like the fucking parking lot. It might have been the same episode they were making snow.
I don't remember that episode.
I think they made snow with wood. Can't remember.
I used to have like an iPod Nano growing up when I was like 3rd to like 6th grade. And I remember when I was in like 3rd to like 4th grade, I just had hella like songs from like it was hella Jonas Brothers music. I had the Drake and Josh song. I had a lot of like Drake Bell songs at the time. And I fucking loved like Hannah Montana music. And I was so like insecure about that. Like I did not want any of my friends to know that I loved like Hannah Montana songs. I had like Selena Gomez, like camp rock songs
Yeah.
and shit. Like I loved all the girl music too. And I remember being really embarrassed about that. Then I remember
Sorry, go.
I remember my sister and like her best friend at the time. My parents bought them tickets to go see Hannah Montana and the Cheetah Girls live in concert. And I was livid. I was so pissed that I wasn't invited and I didn't get a fucking ticket. And I remember when I found out, my mom was like on the phone with somebody on the fucking like house phone. It was that long ago. And I remember I went up to her and I was like, seriously? Like, they're going to see Hannah Montana and the Cheetah Girls? And I'm not going? And like my mom was just like talking, so she's like, I can't like talk, hold on. And I just like stormed up to my room and I was just pissed. And I was just listening to like sad music with my headphones on, and, like building my Legos. That's such a vivid memory. I remember being so fucking upset.
Do you remember what
and I
your
just
mom
felt so betrayed because they knew.
Did they know you liked it?
I don't know. They probably not.
Well,
I know my sisters knew, but I don't think my mom knew.
Did your mom? Do you remember what your mom said? Probably called you a weenie and fucking closed the door.
I don't know. I think she was just like, well, this is like a special birthday present for them. Like, this is just something we're doing for them. I don't know. I don't remember the conversation after that.
You can't even see the Hannah Montana nowadays. Well, I guess you can see Miley Cyrus. So.
Huh? Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Sorry, just because we have.
And she would perform in her wig and everything. Isn't that crazy?
What's a
Like
Hannah
they really
Montana
kept
song?
the
Do
thing
you
going.
remember?
Nobody's perfect. You live and you learn it day after day till you get it right. What's another one?
There was one where this might just be a Miley
Just
Cyrus
two guys
song.
laying in a bed singing Hannah Montana songs.
Where she's like
spit
on a
me.
mountain. She's like on top of a mountain, and it's like really
climb?
deserty.
Is
Like
it Hannah
music
Montana
video.
though?
I don't know if it was Miley Cyrus or Hannah Montana. I think it was
I'm trying
Miley
to think
Cyrus.
if I can
They had,
remember
like a horse.
any other Hannah Montana songs. Wasn't there one called like So What or something? So
There's definitely got to be one where she's like switching back and forth.
if you played them right now, I'd like probably sing them bar for bar.
We're not doing that. So.
But I just can't remember off the top of my heezy.
What was the Wizards of Waverly Place opening theme song?
Oh, I don't know. I never watched that show a whole lot. It didn't really like do it for
Dude,
me.
I loved that show.
I don't know
It was
why.
a
just
crazy
wasn't
ass show
really-
because it was so good and it had like a whole like story, and it actually ended with like how the whole point was that they were gonna have to take like the wizard test to become like wizards.
The camera's
and
about
like
to die,
only
by the
one
way.
of them. Okay, like only one of them was gonna make it, and they ended up doing that. You know, like
They did end up taking the test?
Like they ended up doing the whole like wizard test, and one family member was only gonna have it. I think they ended up somehow having two family members having it. Or Selena gave up her powers, but I remember the youngest one, he didn't end up getting any powers.
I don't remember, man.
What's
I
that one?
never watched
What's
it
that
enough.
one Wizard Waverly Place where it's like...
I just remember the one part where he's like, The New York Jets. It was the dad. He was like,
Nah,
"The
I just
New York
remember there was like a
Mets,
wall,
Mets,
and like when they'd
Mets."
open it, it was like just hella like
Wizard shit.
smoke, like tss, and it would go through
Ah.
like another something. Okay, let's just call it. I was trying to think of their. I'm trying to remember the Wizard of Waverly Place.
I don't remember.
Fuck,
man.
it's Selena Gomez. Ah, think. I had
She
it
was in it,
earlier.
right? She was
Yeah,
one of
she
the-
was the singer in it too.
Wizards of Waverly Place. Should we play it?
Give me 2 seconds. I really want it. I think I could guess.
Come on. Yeah, you said you loved the show.
It's a fast one. Like,
Oh, it's starting to come back to me just a little bit.
She's like kind of like singing but fast, almost like a rap maybe.
I have to pee so bad.
Hold it.
Yeah, let's do this. Then we'll be done.
God dang it! I know it's
Oh,
like I'm gonna
fuck.
be pissed because it's like oh.
This how?
I don't even want.
What was that?
Okay.
Oh.
Oh. There.
That's me.
Please, but you might find out. I'll go to your head. Dude, I would never guess these lyrics. I can't guess
Damn.
any lyrics.
It kind of came back, but honestly, still sounds kind of new.
Oh, wait, what's the
I'm gonna
hook?
Pop my leg
Real
right
quick,
now. Can you pull
sorry.
this?
Yeah, hold on.
Can you pull my leg?
Oh,
you
it
feel
popped.
it?
Yeah.
All right, I gotta pee, dude.
All right, let's get out of here. All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for watching the third installment of the Pursuit of Coziness. Camera's gonna die, so we don't want to go too far, but hopefully you enjoyed it. Just something chill, something not a lot of pressure on ourselves. Just kind of talking. Two bros in a bed talking. Let us know what you think of the setup. Probably maybe doing this again. I don't know.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Later.
Peace.
Nice. Ah, that's sick. I love doing those.
Oh yeah, let's chill.